Darius Cole woke before sunrise, the way old habits set an early clock inside a person. He boiled water for tea and laid a neat folder on his small kitchen table. Inside were the things he had learned to keep close: his driver's license, his veteran ID, a letter from the VA, and the check that had arrived 2 days earlier. It was a back pay check, the kind of envelope that can breathe room into a tight month. He held it for a moment, reading his name, thinking about what it meant. It was not a prize. It was a promise kept late, a piece of paper that could help him step into a new life he had planned with care. He checked the day's schedule one more time. The veterans hiring event started at noon, but doors opened at 11. He wanted to be there early, to walk the booths, to ask good questions, to look people in the eye. He had even printed small copies of his resume on a friend's home printer. He would cash the check first thing, pick up a tie clip from the shop on Maple, and take a ride-share to the community hall with time to spare. The check would also help him put a deposit down for a short training course in project management next week. It meant bus fare covered, a few bills eased, and maybe a little gift for his niece, who had been drawing pictures of rockets and stars. He set a clean shirt on the bed and placed his uniform jacket across the back of a chair. He did not wear the full uniform anymore, but he liked carrying the jacket on days that asked for courage. The jacket did not say "look at me." It said, "face the day with care." He polished his shoes, folded a handkerchief, and slid his phone and charger into the side pocket of the folder. Plans were good company. Outside, the city stretched awake. The bus ride downtown moved through streets still soft with morning light. People boarded with coffee cups and quiet faces. Darius watched them and thought about how every person on a bus holds a whole life in their hands: jobs, hopes, morning thoughts. He nodded to the driver, offered his seat to a father carrying a sleepy toddler, and then stood near the middle doors with one hand on the rail and the other on the folder. He did not grip it tight. He had learned to look calm even when something mattered. The bank rose out of the corner like a glass book. He had passed it many times, but this morning it felt different: clear doors, tall windows, bright posters about savings plans and community days. Inside, the air was cool and smelled faintly of paper and coffee. A security guard by the entrance offered a friendly greeting. Darius returned the smile and the small nod that said, "We're both here doing our jobs." The lobby held a line of people living out small chapters of their day. A woman in a floral blouse arranged coupons in a tidy stack. A man in a blue suit stared into his phone, tapping and pausing as if the screen might change if he willed it. A young boy in a red cap counted coins into a jar, watched by a mother who whispered numbers like a song. Darius liked lines. Lines meant order. They meant your turn would come. His eyes traveled across the posters on the walls. One showed a group of smiling veterans at a community picnic. Another spoke about trust, about being your bank for life. He felt his shoulders loosen a little at that word. Trust is a simple word and a long road. He looked at the clock. Early, as planned. He breathed, steady and slow. When his turn came, he stepped to a window where a teller wore a bright yellow scarf. She smiled, and her smile reached her eyes. He greeted her and explained what he needed, calm and clear. He placed the check on the counter, then his IDs, then the VA letter, stacking them in a neat line as he talked. He did not make a speech. He simply shared the facts: "This is who I am, this is what this is, and this is why I'm here." He added, with a small, easy laugh, that he was hoping to leave with enough time to grab a sandwich before the hiring event. The teller examined the documents with practiced care. She typed, checked the watermark on the check, and nodded with that polite, neutral focus service people have when they take their work seriously. "Because of the amount," she said gently, "I need a manager's approval." "It's routine." Darius nodded at the word routine and thanked her. He stepped a half pace back to give her room, hands resting on the folder, posture relaxed. Routine could be his favorite word on a day like this. In her glass-walled office, the branch manager, Linda Whitaker, was sorting reports. She had been with the bank for 12 years and knew the flow of a weekday morning down to the minute. She could sense from a distance when a printer would jam or a teller's station would need change. Lately, though, her sense of calm had a small edge to it. A month earlier, a counterfeit check had slipped through. The bank had covered the loss, but the memory lingered like a light pressure behind the eyes. There had been an audit, emails, and a training session full of bullet points. She had promised herself, be careful, be exact, follow the steps. Linda saw the teller's signal and stepped out into the lobby. From a few steps away, she noticed the size of the check and the name on it. She noticed the folder, the careful way the documents were arranged, the jacket over the chair, the calm stance of the man in front of her window. Her heart did what hearts do when risk and responsibility meet in one space, it picked up a little. She offered a professional smile. "Good morning," she said, and introduced herself. Darius greeted her by name and explained, once more and without hurry, that he was cashing a VA back pay check and heading to a hiring event. He slid the letter forward, and she read the letterhead, the reference numbers, the contact line for verification. He offered his driver's license and veteran card again, and she compared the names and numbers. Everything matched. She felt the tug of two voices, the voice of care, and the voice of fear of error. While she reviewed the documents, life continued around them. The boy in the red cap asked Darius, in a small whisper, what a veteran was. Darius turned, his smile easy. "It means I served our country," he said, "and now I'm building my next chapter." The boy nodded, wide-eyed, and counted another handful of coins. The mother mouthed a thank you. Darius's phone buzzed with a message from the event coordinator, a reminder about an early networking session and a note that a four-star general was scheduled to speak. He sent a quick reply on my way after a bank stop and slipped the phone back into the folder. Linda walked the check to a light and tilted it the way training taught her to do. She found the security marks where they should be. She typed the issuing information into her screen and watched the system spin. She knew the bank's policy allowed a quick call to the issuer's hotline in cases like this. She also knew another policy about holds for large checks when a person was not a regular account holder. The rules were meant to guide, not frighten, yet she felt the memory of that earlier incident stir the air around her. She reminded herself, steps, not stories. Steps, and then judgment. "Thank you for your patience," she said to Darius. "This may take a few minutes." Her tone was even, and she meant it. Darius nodded. He had waited in harsher places for longer reasons. He stood easy, feet flat, chin level, hands in view. Waiting is an art when you are trying to show goodwill. The teller offered him a bottle of water. He accepted it, said thanks, and took a small sip. He glanced again at the poster with the group of veterans, and his mouth curved into a soft half-smile. He liked the idea of community days and picnic tables and name tags that made strangers feel like neighbors. He looked back to the counter and kept his focus on the moment at hand. A minute stretched into several. Linda tried the hotline number, listened to a recorded menu, and tapped through options. She waited for the tone that meant a person would pick up soon. The hold music played a calm tune with long notes that felt longer today. She glanced toward the lobby and saw Darius watching the line with the quiet attention of someone who had learned to read rooms. He did not pace. He did not hover. He did not rush her with questions. That gentleness softened something in her, but the memory of the audit stiffened it again. Darius thought about the training he would start if the week went right. It was a short course, but it would give him a certificate and a way to name skills he already had: planning, logistics, careful timing. He pictured the slide where he would write a goal at the top and steps beneath it. He pictured his sister's kitchen table, where his niece would spread crayons and draw planets while he filled out homework for class. The image steadied him. He checked the time. Still okay, he told himself. Still on plan. The lobby's hum rose and fell. A man laughed at something on his screen. A printer chirped and spat out a receipt. The guard held the door for a woman with a stroller and then returned to his post, tapping a rhythm against his leg. Sunlight curved across the tiles and moved, little by little, toward the base of the teller windows. Darius noticed the way it made the floor shine, like a fresh start. Linda returned from the phone with an apologetic look. "The line is busy," she said. "I'm going to try again. I also need to check one more thing in the system." She chose her words with care. She wanted to be thorough. She wanted to be kind. She wanted, most of all, to be right. She opened a new screen, entered the check number, and waited for the tiny circle to stop turning. "Of course," Darius said. "Take your time." He meant it. He also felt the light press of the clock at his back. He let out a slow breath and thought about a saying one of his old sergeants used to repeat: "Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast." It made sense in many places, including a bank lobby on a morning that mattered. A small boy's coin jar tipped and spilled a few pennies across the floor. The sound was soft, like rain on glass. Darius crouched and helped gather them, smiling as the boy counted each coin out loud and cheered when none were lost. The mother smiled too and told her son to say thank you. He did, with a shy wave. Moments like that are quiet gifts. They remind people they are all in the same room for the same big reason, to take care of life. Linda watched that small scene and felt her shoulders lower a fraction. People reveal themselves in little acts, she thought. She caught herself, corrected the thought, and returned to the steps. The check still looked right. The letter was clear. The ID matched. The system would verify soon, she told herself. She reminded herself that caution and fairness walk best together. Darius offered, in the same calm tone, to share the VA contact printed on the letter. He pointed to the number and said he didn't mind waiting on hold if it helped. He even offered the name of the event coordinator who could confirm why he needed the funds. His words were simple and steady. He was not trying to persuade, he was trying to help the process do what it was meant to do. "Thank you," Linda said. "Let me try the line one more time from my desk. It sometimes works better there." She gave the teller a quiet instruction to keep the check in sight, then carried the documents to her office. The glass walls made everything visible, her desk with neatly stacked folders, the framed photo of her daughter at a school play, the small plant that fought for sun near the window. She sat, dialed, and listened again to the polite recorded voice on the other end. From the lobby, Darius could see the movement of her hand as she pressed buttons and waited. He did not try to read her face. He watched the door and the clock and the floor where sunlight now touched the tip of his shoe. He thought about what he would say to the first recruiter he met, about how to describe years of work without making them sound bigger or smaller than they were. He thought about the people who had helped him get here, the neighbor who fixed his resume, the barber who insisted the haircut was on the house because you're stepping into new things, and the aunt who called every Sunday to ask if he was sleeping enough. The teller at the window asked if he needed anything else, another bottle of water, a chair. He thanked her and accepted the chair. Sitting did not mean settling, it meant saving energy for the rest of the day. He placed the folder in his lap, kept his back straight, and let his eyes rest on the poster that promised community partnership. He found it nice that a bank would promise something like that. He also knew that promises gain weight when they meet a person at the counter. In her office, Linda finally heard the click that meant a real person would join the call. She felt a lift of hope and a small knot of nerves at the same time. She had a duty to guard the bank. She also had a duty to serve the people who walked through its doors with honest needs. She looked out at the lobby, the boy with the red cap, the man with the phone, the guard at the door, and Darius with the folder on his lap, and she decided the steps would lead the way. She straightened the letter, read the reference number once more, and prepared to speak in a voice that was both precise and fair. And in that pause, as the line opened and the morning moved forward, the day held its breath for just one more moment, waiting to see how an ordinary request in an ordinary bank would unfold for two people trying, in their own ways, to do the right thing. Linda finally reached a live person on the verification line, gave the reference number in a steady voice, and waited as the keyboard clicks came through the receiver. The hold music returned. Then, just when she thought an answer would come, the call dropped. She stared at the phone for a heartbeat, then dialed again. Busy. She typed notes into her screen, listing each step she had taken, because that was how she kept order when a morning slid sideways. Out in the lobby, she could see Darius sitting with his folder on his lap, shoulders relaxed, eyes clear. He had the calm look of someone who believed the process would do its job if everyone let it. She walked out with an apologetic smile and explained the line trouble. "I'm going to try a different route," she said. "We have internal checks we can run." Her tone was smooth, but inside she felt the same small pull that had become familiar since the earlier incident, a pull that said, "Be careful." She looked again at the check. The paper felt right, the watermark was there, the edges were clean. She checked his IDs once more, same name, same address, clean expiration dates. "Do you bank with us?" she asked, even though she had already seen he did not have an account here. He said no, but he had come because of the branch's good reputation and because the VA letter said the check could be cashed at any major bank. "If it helps," Darius said gently, "we can call the VA number on the letter. It's printed here." He pointed to the line under the letterhead. "I can wait on hold, no problem." He spoke like someone asking for a simple tool, like a wrench or a flashlight. The teller nodded, ready to try it. Linda's mind measured the options: make the call and hope the line answered quickly, place a hold and ask him to come back in a few days, escalate to security and let someone else carry the decision. The last option felt heavy, but it also felt safe in the way handing off a difficult ball can feel safe. Linda opened a policy document on her screen and scanned the highlighted lines from last month's training. The words were clear: when in doubt on a large item from an unknown presenter, escalate through approved channels. There was also a note about calling the issuer. The word issuer soothed her for a second, then the memory of the audit tightened again. She wished the VA line would pick up on the first ring. She wished the world would make the right choice simple. She looked at Darius. He sat straight, hands open on the folder, jacket folded over the chair beside him like a small flag of hope. "Would placing a short hold be possible?" she asked, trying to offer a middle path. "We could release funds after confirmation." Darius gave a polite smile and shook his head. "I understand," he said kindly, "but I'm due at a hiring event today. I need to pay for the ride and a few things there. I'm not asking for anything extra, just access to what this letter says is mine. The VA can confirm." His words were simple, and they were true. Linda heard the truth, but her mind also heard the low drum of her promise to be exact. She told the teller she would make one more attempt from her office line and stepped back into the glass room. The call returned to the same menu, the same music, the same wait. She wrote down the timestamps to show she had tried. On the desk, the framed photo of her daughter at a school play smiled up at her. She thought of the lesson she taught at home: when you're not sure, slow down and check. It was a good lesson. Yet she also knew that in a lobby, slow can start to look like stuck. She rubbed her temple and checked the internal alert board. Nothing new. When she returned to the counter, a quiet had fallen over the space around Darius. The boy in the red cap had finished his coins and was watching with curious eyes. The guard at the door shifted his stance in a way that said he, too, felt something waiting in the air. Linda spoke in a careful tone. "Sir, because of the amount and because I haven't been able to confirm as quickly as I hoped, I'm going to follow our escalation procedure. Darius kept his voice even. What does that mean? She swallowed. It means I'll need to involve security. They may ask a few questions. It is standard when there's uncertainty. May I suggest we try the VA line together first, he said. The number is here, and they can confirm this in a few minutes. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't press. He offered a workable, human step. Linda looked at the clock. She felt the morning slipping, felt the eyes of the room, felt the small fear that if she overrode a safeguard and something went wrong, she would carry it alone. She nodded to the guard. Could you stand by for a moment? Then, with her thumb hovering over her phone, she chose the official path. She called the non-emergency number the bank used for reporting suspicious items. The dispatcher answered with a steady voice and asked for details. Linda gave the facts: location, amount, presenter's name, the type of document, the difficulty reaching the issuer. She heard herself say the phrase possible check issue and winced inside because the words were not the whole story. The dispatcher asked if the person was cooperative. Yes, she said. Very. The dispatcher said a unit would swing by to help sort things out. The call was calm and professional and made the air feel heavier anyway. Darius watched her talk, read her face as one reads weather. He had seen this kind of cloud gather before, and he knew the pattern: a small doubt grows, steps collect, and suddenly a simple morning turns into a scene. He chose his next move with care. He sent a text to the event coordinator, running into a delay at the bank. Might be late. I have documents if needed. He attached a photo of the letterhead. He did not add worry to the message, only facts. He put the phone away, then took it out again and added, if someone from the VA can talk to the branch, that would help. The reply came fast. Send their number. He shared the branch line and the manager's name. The coordinator, who had already been fielding calls for the day's speakers, looped in the general's aide with a short note: one of our veterans is having trouble cashing a VA check. Can you help confirm if needed? Darius did not know that last part yet. He only knew that he had asked for help in the most ordinary, polite way a person can ask for help, by pointing to a phone number and a letter and a clear path. Around him, small kindnesses continued, the way they often do even when a room tenses. The teller offered him another bottle of water. The mother of the boy in the red cap whispered, I hope it's sorted soon. The guard kept his face neutral but gave a tiny nod that said, I see you. Darius felt his breath slow in the good way, like he did before long marches: in through the nose, out through the mouth, count four again. He had learned to carry calm the way others carry tools. Linda hung up with dispatch and wrote the report number on a sticky note. Her pen shook a little. She told herself she was protecting the bank. She told herself she was following steps. She also felt a small, nagging question inside: did I do the simplest thing first? She had tried, and the line had dropped, and the clock had pushed her, and here she was, with a decision made that could not be unmade. She stepped back to the counter and told Darius what would happen next, in the gentlest words she could find. They'll come, ask a few questions, and likely call the issuer too, she said. We'll get to the bottom of it. Thank you, he said, and meant it, because a path is better than a wall. He stayed seated, kept his hands visible, let the folder rest where anyone could see its neat edges and honest contents. He thought of the poster that promised trust and partnership and tried to hold on to that promise like a handrail. He did not feel angry, he felt a kind of tired he knew well, the kind that asks you to choose who you are while others decide what they see. The teller's screen chimed with a message from another branch. She glanced at it, then at Linda, unsure if she should interrupt. It was a simple reminder about a system update, not helpful here. She closed it and focused on the person in front of her. "Is there anyone you'd like me to call?" she asked softly. "I can place the call and hand you the phone." Darius thanked her and said the coordinator might try reaching the branch line. He did not want to make the teller's job harder. He did not want anyone in the room to feel pressed. Linda stood a little to the side, feeling the room watch her choices. She thought of her training binder, the neat tabs, the checklists. She thought of her promise to her team after the audit: "We'll be careful, and we'll also be fair." She had meant both parts. She still did. She reached for the VA letter again, read the contact line again, looked at the watermark again. Every sign pointed to a simple solution: a person on a phone, a database check, a confirmation code. But now there was a call in motion and wheels turning, and she told herself to trust the process, even if it felt heavier than necessary. Darius's phone buzzed. The coordinator's name lit the screen. "We're trying your branch," the message read. "If needed, we have a senior contact who can help verify. Hold steady." He smiled at the phrase "hold steady." It matched the way he was sitting, the way he had learned to be when patience was the only good move. He typed a quick thank you and put the phone away. He did not want to seem distracted or defensive. He wanted to be a person at a counter asking for a normal thing in a normal way. A few customers near the back shifted to other windows as if giving the space more room. The boy in the red cap asked his mother, very softly, why the man with the folder was waiting so long. The mother said, "Sometimes grown-up things take time," and patted his shoulder. The guard checked the door again. Morning light slid a little further across the tiles. The room felt suspended, like a held breath, like a story that had not yet chosen its next line. Linda glanced through the glass and saw the street outside, the reflections of buses and hurried walkers. She remembered the bank's poster about Community Day and thought, not without irony, that community days were easy, community moments were hard. She wished the caller on the VA line would ring back. She wished the right thing would be more obvious to her skin and not only to her head. She stood behind the counter with both feet grounded and chose to speak with care. "Sir," she said, "I'm sorry for the delay. I appreciate your patience." Darius nodded, and his thank you was warm, not sharp. In that quiet, his phone buzzed once more, a new name this time, unknown to him, an aide to a senior officer who would be speaking at the event. The message was short and kind: "We hear you're having trouble verifying a VA check. We can assist if the branch needs confirmation. Please share a number we can call right now." Darius blinked at the offer. He did not know what it might lead to. He only knew help had raised a hand. He copied the branch line again, added Linda's name, and wrote, "They have the check. Thank you." He put the phone face down and let stillness return. He chose to trust that the next ring, whichever ring it was, would finally be the simple one. He chose to sit as if the room were steady water. He chose to believe that an ordinary process could still be ordinary, even with official steps walking toward it. And as the city moved outside and the lobby waited inside, the moment that would change the whole day gathered itself, quiet and close, just on the other side of the door. The first officer stepped into the branch with a calm walk and a notebook in hand. The second officer followed, nodding to the guard and looking around the lobby the way careful people do. Their uniforms looked neat, their voices sounded even, and they brought with them the quiet attention that enters a room when rules are about to be checked. The guard pointed them toward the counter. Linda met them halfway, gave her name, and explained in a few short sentences what had happened so far. She kept her tone steady, but her hands were tight around the folder where she had written the report number. The officers listened, asked if the presenter was still here, and Linda gestured toward Darius. Darius stood when they approached. He greeted them with a simple good morning. He kept his palms open and visible, the way he had learned to do when a situation needed steady air. One officer introduced himself and said they were there to help the bank confirm things. "We'll ask a few questions and make a couple of calls," he said. "If everything checks out, you'll be on your way." It was a kind sentence, and Darius held onto it. He pointed to the documents on the counter: driver's license, veteran card, VA letter, and the check with all its marks. "Everything is right here," he said, "and the VA number is printed in the letter." The first questions were basic: his full name, address, date of birth, where the check came from, why he was cashing it today. Darius answered in clear, simple words. His voice did not rush. He spoke as if each answer were one more brick in a short, honest wall. The officer wrote notes in the small notebook and nodded. "Thank you," he said. "We'll also run your ID through our system." "It's routine." Darius said he understood. He had heard that word many times this morning. It felt like a small boat he had to keep steady until it reached land. The teller kept working at her station, but every few seconds her eyes lifted with quiet worry. The mother with the boy in the red cap moved to a farther chair to give space, and the boy waved at Darius again, as if to say he was still cheering for him. A man in a suit glanced at his phone and then at the scene and then back at his phone, unsure where to look. The lobby changed the way rooms do when a new step enters. People grew softer in their movements, as if not wanting to make any extra noise. Linda returned to her office to pull up the bank's internal guidance. She read the lines again: keep the conversation respectful, give the person space, do not draw assumptions, use verification tools. She had done most of that, but the sentence that kept tapping at her mind was the one about calling the issuer. She had tried and failed to get through, yes, but she had not stayed on the phone long enough to pass the hold music. She knew it. She also knew she had moved to the next step because the clock and her memory of the audit had pressed her forward. That thought made her chest feel tight. The officers asked Darius if he would mind stepping a little to the side of the counter so they could talk with the manager and the teller. "You can bring your folder," one added. Darius nodded, picked up the folder, and moved to a small area near a potted plant. He stood there like a person waiting by a bus stop, upright, patient, not trying to look brave, only trying to look normal. Inside, he counted breaths. Outside, he watched the sunlight travel another inch across the floor. The first officer spoke with the teller. What did the check look like? Did the marks line up? Did the ID match? The teller answered, yes, the paper felt correct. Yes, the watermark was right. Yes, the names matched. The officer thanked her and turned to Linda. "Did you call the issuing line?" he asked. "I tried," Linda said. "Twice. It dropped once, then stayed busy. I have the number here." She lifted the letter so he could see the contact printed at the top. "Would you mind if we try as well?" the officer asked. "Please do," she said, and her voice carried a little relief. They placed the call on speaker so everyone near the counter could hear the ring. The recorded voice came on: "Thank you for calling the verification service. Your call is important. Please stay on the line." The hold music played the same gentle tune. Darius recognized the melody by now. He watched the call timer climb: 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3. He did not want to think about the opening of the hiring event doors. He did not want to picture the early conversations he was missing. He kept his mind on the next right step. The second officer asked Darius more questions, politely, and never raised his voice. "What kind of roles are you looking for?" he asked at one point, as if to keep the air friendly while they waited. Darius told him about logistics work, about planning, about organizing people and supplies with care. The officer nodded. "Sounds like you'd be good at that," he said. It was a small line, but it helped. The call held. 4 minutes, 5 minutes. The first officer wrote the check number and amount on his notepad so he would have them ready when a human answer came. Linda watched the timer with a kind of quiet urgency. She had wanted to be exact. Now she wanted, more than anything, for ordinary systems to do their job. A person picks up, a code is read, a confirmation is spoken, a check is called valid, a day moves on. The teller refreshed her screen and cleared her throat softly, as if to ask the air to open a path. At 7 minutes, the call clicked and a person came on the line. The officer spoke with the gentle care of someone handling a thin glass. "Good morning. We're at a bank branch, verifying a check. We have the check number and a letter. May we confirm?" The person asked for the last 4 digits, the date, the name of the recipient. The officer gave the details, and then there was another pause as keys clicked on the other end. The room seemed to lean forward. "I'm sorry," the voice said, "I'll need to transfer you to the verification desk." The music returned. The timer climbed again to 9 minutes. Darius felt his chest grow tight, not with anger, but with the weight of time. He pictured the event hall, tables with small signs, cups of water, badges on a folding table, people greeting one another with the easy hope of new steps. He had planned to arrive early, shake hands, find the right booth. Now he pictured arriving late, out of breath, with a story that did not sound like an excuse even though it was true. He pressed the heel of his hand against the folder, then stopped, because he did not want to crease the papers. He lifted his hand and rested it again, gentle. The second officer ran his ID through the system. "All clear," he said to his partner. "No issues." He gave Darius a small nod, and Darius nodded back. It was a tiny exchange, but it added one more brick to the short wall of honesty he was building. The first officer stayed on the line, listening to the hold music. He looked at Linda. "We'll keep trying this line," he said. "In the meantime, can you run your internal issuer check?" Linda explained that their internal tool also routed to the same verification system. "I've tried twice," she said. "I'll try again." A caller rang the branch line. The teller answered, listened, and then looked at Linda. "It's the event coordinator," she mouthed. "Should I?" Linda took the phone. The coordinator spoke gently, said Darius was scheduled to attend an employment event and held documents showing the legitimacy of the check, and offered to connect the bank directly with a VA contact. Linda thanked her, took down a second number, and said she would try it. She felt the space in her chest widen a little. She dialed. The line rang twice and then moved to a recorded menu. She pressed the option for verification. The music changed to a different tune and then stopped the same way as the other line. "Please hold." The minutes turned heavy in the way minutes do when too many steps wait on one answer. 10 minutes. 11. The officers remained calm. The guard stayed by the door. The customers in line shifted their weight from one foot to the other, no one complaining, everyone hoping to see the room let out a breath. Darius looked at the time on his phone and did the math no one wants to do: the taxi ride to the hall, the badge pickup, the first talk at the stage. He sent a quick message to the coordinator, "Still waiting. Thank you for trying. Please don't hold anything for me that slows the event." The coordinator replied with a short promise, "We'll help however we can. Don't worry about the schedule yet." Another message followed from the aide he did not know, "We are making a separate call. If needed, we will come by." Darius read the words twice. He did not know what we meant. He did not want to expect anything. He put his phone face down again and kept his breathing slow. The first officer finally reached a person at the verification desk. He gave the numbers again, his tone patient. The desk asked to put him on a brief hold while they pulled the file. This time, the hold was short, 20 seconds, then a click. "I apologize," the voice said. "Our system is running slow. Could you call back in 15 minutes? The officer blinked, surprised. "We've already been on hold," he said, still calm. We have a cooperative customer in the branch. The voice apologized once more, and the line ended. It felt like a small door closing. Not locked, not slammed, but closed. The officer looked at Darius and then at Linda. "We'll try again," he said. "Also, I can call our dispatch to see if they have a different line." He stepped aside to do that. Linda tried the second number again and reached the same menu. The teller, watching all this, pushed a small bowl of wrapped mints closer to Darius, as if sugar could soften time. He took one, unwrapped it, and let it sit on his tongue. It tasted like winter and waiting. Another small obstacle slid in. The bank's internal network hiccuped and logged Linda out of her session, asking her to sign in again and confirm by text. The text took a minute to arrive. She typed the code with careful fingers, trying not to frown. The second officer returned. "Dispatch gave me a backline," he said. "I'll try that now." He dialed, listened, and then closed his eyes for a second in relief when a person answered right away. He spoke slowly, gave the information, spelled Darius's last name letter by letter, and then waited while the person clicked through screens. The backline agent asked one more question: "Is the check endorsed?" The teller confirmed it was not yet, because they endorse after verification at this branch. The agent said that was fine. "Hold, please," they added. The lobby held its breath again. Darius looked at the poster with the word trust in bold letters and felt a rare mix of gratitude and sadness. He liked the word. He also knew that trust worked best when people reached for it together. 15 minutes had passed since the officers arrived. 20 since Linda had first called. The event at the hall had opened its doors. Darius could feel the minutes as if they were small weights in his jacket pocket. He thought of texting his niece a picture of the badge he had hoped to wear today. He pictured her reply full of stars and exclamation marks. He told himself he would still send that picture, maybe not today, but soon. The backline agent came back to the call and said they were still pulling records and might need to reach a different database. "We're sorry," the voice said again. The officer thanked them, asked if there was anything else they could provide to speed it up. The voice said no, not at this time. The line stayed open. The agent promised not to hang up. This was the moment when the room felt heaviest. It was not because anyone had raised a voice. No one had. It was not because anyone had used a harsh word. No one had. It was because an ordinary person had brought an ordinary need to an ordinary place, and still, the simplest step, verify, had turned into a maze. Darius felt the tired feeling behind his eyes, the one that comes when a long day starts before lunch. He thought, just for a second, of giving up, of saying, "Keep the check, I'll come back tomorrow." But tomorrow would not help the ride he needed today. Tomorrow would not show up at the event for him. He chose, again, to stay. He asked if he could speak on the call, just to say he was there with documents if anything was needed. The officer turned the phone a little toward him so his voice would carry. "Hello," Darius said. "This is the person on the check. I have my IDs, the letter, and I'm happy to answer questions." The agent thanked him and said they appreciated his patience. It was a small, human response. It did not solve the delay, but it softened the edges of the moment. Then another ring sounded, this time on the branch's main line. The teller picked up, listened, and her eyes widened in a careful, professional way. She covered the receiver and whispered to Linda, "It's the aide from the event. They say a senior guest is nearby and can stop in if it helps confirm." Linda's face showed surprise, then caution, then hope. "Please transfer to me," she said. She took the call and listened as the aide spoke in a calm, organized voice. The aide did not make demands. The aide offered help, a direct confirmation, official identification, a willingness to speak with the officers and the bank. Linda looked at the officers, then at Darius, then at the clock. She felt the path open a little, like a door easing on a hinge that had been stuck. "We would welcome any help that speeds a proper confirmation," she said into the phone. She named the branch. She gave the cross streets. She thanked the caller for their care. When she hung up, she met Darius's eyes and said, not loudly but clearly, "Someone is on the way who may be able to help." Darius nodded once, a small nod that held a lot. He did not know who was coming or what it would mean. He only knew that the day, which had felt like a slow circle, might be moving forward at last. He smoothed the edge of the folder, took one more steady breath, and stood ready to meet whatever came through the glass doors. The lowest point had passed in silence. The next step was already turning the handle. The glass doors slid open and a small hush moved through the lobby, the kind that happens when something important steps into a room. A woman in a neat dark suit walked in first. She carried a folder and wore a simple pin on her lapel. Behind her came General Elaine Harper, calm and steady, with an aide a half step to her right. The general did not raise her voice or swing her arms. She just walked like time had taught her to walk, sure, measured, and kind. The security guard straightened by instinct. The officers looked up and gave a small nod that meant, "We see you." Linda felt her heart tap faster, then settle like a glass placed carefully on a table. The teller's hands paused over the keyboard. The mother with the boy in the red cap touched her son's shoulder and whispered, "Look how everyone is standing a little taller." Darius stood too. He did not know the general, but he knew the look of a person who arrived to help without making a show. The aide spoke first, her voice warm. "Good morning. We're here to assist with a verification." She held out a plain leather case. Inside were credentials, clear and official. The officers checked them and each gave a short, respectful greeting. General Harper smiled at them, then at Linda, then at Darius. Her smile was the kind that says, "We're all going to handle this the right way." "Mr. Cole," she asked, turning to Darius. "I'm Elaine Harper. I'm scheduled to speak at the event you're heading to. We heard you were having a delay. We're here to support a quick and proper confirmation." Darius nodded. "Thank you, ma'am," he said. The word came out natural, not forced. He did not try to tell the whole story in one breath. He did not need to. General Harper faced the officers. "Officers, thank you for being here," she said. "Would you mind if we all take one clear step together? The letter lists a verification line. My aide also has a direct desk number. If we can place a standard issuer call, we can confirm this check in minutes." Her tone was light, almost conversational. She was not giving orders. She was inviting people into a simple path. The first officer nodded. "That's what we've been trying," he said. "We've reached hold music." The aide lifted her phone. "We have a backline," she said. "I'll dial it now and put it on speaker so everyone can hear." She set the phone on the counter. The ring was short. A person answered, not a recording, and said, "Verification desk." The aide gave the basics: bank branch, check number, amount, recipient's name, the presence of officers, the need for a quick confirm. The voice asked for the code printed on the bottom corner of the check. The teller read it out. The voice asked for the reference number on the VA letter. Linda read it, slow and careful. Keys clicked on the other end. The room held a soft quiet. Even the printer seemed to wait. "Thank you," the voice said. "Please hold for 30 seconds while I pull the record." The hold lasted exactly as promised, not a beat longer. "I have it," the voice said. "Check number ending in 7413, payable to Darius Cole, issued 2 days ago. This is a valid check." The word valid felt like a window opening. Air came back into the room. "Thank you," the aide said. "Could you also confirm the amount and the issuing unit?" The voice did. Everything matched. The officers wrote the confirmation code in their notebooks. Linda wrote it on her sticky note, then on the form she would file. Her pen moved smoother now. The teller let out the tiniest breath and looked relieved in the way people look when the simplest thing finally becomes simple again. General Harper kept her tone steady. "We appreciate the help," she said into the phone. "We have a veteran here who needs to be on his way to a hiring event. Your quick work made that possible." The person on the line said, "Happy to assist," and the call ended with a polite goodbye. For a heartbeat no one spoke. Then the first officer turned to Darius. "Thank you for your patience," he said. "You've been cooperative the whole time." The second officer echoed him, and their faces showed real respect, the easy kind that comes from seeing someone steady themselves well. Darius thanked them. He did not make a speech. He just said he was grateful they had stayed calm and tried every number. Linda stepped forward. Her voice was gentle, and there was no rush in it now. "Mr. Cole, I'm sorry for the delay," she said. "We have confirmation. We'll cash this right away. We'll waive any fee." She turned to the teller. "Let's process this, please." The teller nodded, already moving through the steps with clear, practiced hands. General Harper looked at Linda. "Thank you for closing the loop," she said. "Would you mind if we step to the side for a moment while the teller finishes?" Linda agreed, grateful that the words felt like a bridge and not a wall. They moved a few steps away from the counter, just enough to speak without crowding anyone. "I try to balance care and speed," Linda said softly. "Today the balance slipped. I'm glad we got to the right answer." The general nodded. "The right answer is a strong thing," she said, "but the best thing is the right way. And the right way is usually simple: talk to the person, call the number, follow the step that checks the fact. You did that in the end." Linda held that sentence like a bright string and promised herself to follow it closer next time. Back at the window, the teller counted the bills with even taps. She placed them in a crisp stack, slipped a receipt beneath, and rotated the tray so it faced Darius. "Here you go, sir," she said, voice warm. "We've waived the fee. If you'd like, I can also get you an envelope or a cashier's check for a portion." Darius smiled. "An envelope would be great, thank you." She offered 2 sizes, and he chose the larger one so he could tuck the receipt safely inside. The boy in the red cap watched with bright eyes. He whispered to his mother, "They solved it?" She nodded and smiled. The mother looked at Darius and said, in a friendly voice meant just for him, "I'm glad." Darius thanked her. The guard gave a subtle thumbs up near his hip, almost hidden, but not so hidden that Darius missed it. Small signs are easy to carry, they weigh almost nothing and give back a lot. General Harper turned to Darius. "Do you have a ride?" she asked. "We're heading toward the hall." The aide added, "We can spare a seat if that helps you make the early session." Darius considered it. He did not want to impose, but he also did not want to miss the chance to arrive on time. "If it's not trouble," he said. "Not at all," the general replied. "We're neighbors today." Linda brought over a small form for her records and explained, kindly, that it was just a note of the steps taken. "You've already done everything we needed," she said. "This is for my file." Darius glanced at it. The lines were simple: time of arrival, verification call, confirmation code. He appreciated that it did not turn a long morning into a heavy story on paper. He signed the line that asked for his name. Linda thanked him and then said, "I'm also going to make a call after you leave to our team so we can learn from the delay. I hope you don't mind my saying that out loud. It's important." "I don't mind," Darius said. "Thank you." It was a clean exchange, nothing extra, nothing hidden. The truth stood on its own feet. The officers prepared to leave. Before they did, the first officer looked at Linda and said, "For future reference, That backline number helped. We can share it with your branch if it's useful. Linda accepted it with thanks and wrote it on a card she knew she would tape to her desk. The second officer shook Darius's hand. "Good luck at the event," he said. "They'll be lucky to have you." It was a sentence that fit well in the room. It matched the feeling that had returned: we are all here to help another person do an ordinary thing and move forward. General Harper faced the small circle: Linda, the teller, the officers, the guard, and spoke in a gentle, even tone. "You all did a lot right today. You kept your voices calm. You stayed respectful. The system took time, and that can test any room. What matters most in a test is not rushing past the simplest step." She lifted the VA letter with 2 fingers. "This line," she said, tapping the printed number, "is a bridge. When you see a bridge, take it." Linda's eyes softened. "We will," she said. "I will." She meant it. The teller meant it. The guard meant it. It felt good to say it and have it be true. The aide checked the time and gave the general a small, polite reminder glance. Schedules matter. So do people. The general smiled. "Mr. Cole," she said, turning to Darius, "shall we?" He tucked the envelope safely in his inner jacket pocket. He folded the VA letter and placed it back in the folder with care. He thanked the teller, the officers, the guard, and Linda in turn. Each thank you was simple and direct. Before he left, Darius looked at Linda and said, "I know mornings can be hard. Thank you for seeing this through." Linda looked a little surprised and then grateful. "Thank you for your patience," she replied. "And good luck today." She almost added more, then decided the clean truth was enough. They walked toward the doors together, the general, the aide, and Darius. The mother and the boy in the red cap watched them go. The boy lifted his hand and waved. Darius waved back and smiled. The doors opened, and the city sound came in: bus brakes, a bicycle bell, footsteps. It felt like the room exhaled. Outside, the sun had climbed enough to warm the sidewalk. A black sedan waited by the curb. The driver stepped out and held the door. The aide took the front seat to make room. Darius hesitated for half a breath, then slid in. The general followed and closed the door with a soft click. Inside the car, the air was cool and smelled faintly of fresh lemon. The world outside moved past in neat, bright pieces: street signs, tree shadows, a baker carrying a tray of rolls to a display case. "Do you have your resume?" the general asked, not as a test, but as a neighbor checking a list. "Yes, ma'am," Darius said, tapping the folder. "Printed last night." The general nodded. "Good. If anyone asks what happened, you can tell them you learned an important thing about morning patients." She smiled a small smile. "And that you arrived on time anyway." Darius looked at his watch. The early session was still in reach. He let himself feel relief, but only a little. He had a day to finish well. He did not want to spend his courage all at once. The aide turned slightly and said, "If it helps, I can text the coordinator that you're on the way with us." Darius thanked her. The message flew ahead like a simple flag: "He is coming." Back at the branch, the lobby returned to its usual rhythm. Receipts printed. Pens clicked. The guard greeted a new customer. Linda walked to her office and set the verification code on her desk where she would see it each day for a week. She opened her email to write a short note to her team: what happened, what she had learned, the backline number, a reminder to try the simplest step first. She kept the tone clear and kind. She did not scold. She did not hide. She just put the facts in a row and added one sentence at the end: "We can move with care and speed at the same time." In the car, the general asked Darius one more question. "What do you hope to find at the event?" He answered honestly. "A solid role in logistics or operations," he said. A place where planning and people skills matter. A team I can help. The general nodded. Those are good aims, she said. They fit you. Her words were simple and strong. They did not promise anything. They named what they saw. Traffic lights changed from red to green, and the sedan glided forward. The city blocks counted down like small, neat steps. Darius reviewed his plan in his head: check in, shake hands, ask clear questions, listen well, follow up. He pictured the tables with company names, the faces behind them, the notes he would write on the back of business cards. He pictured himself speaking in steady sentences. He did not need to mention the bank unless it helped someone else someday. He did not need to carry the whole morning into the hall. He only needed to carry the lesson, verify first, then decide. The aide pointed ahead. That's the hall, she said. The building rose with clean lines and big doors. Posters flapped on stands outside, welcoming guests. People moved in and out with the bright energy of a helpful day. The driver pulled to the curb. The aide opened the door. The general stepped out. Darius followed, folder in hand, envelope safe in his pocket, shoulders even. He turned back to the general. Thank you for coming to the branch, he said. You didn't have to. She shook her head. We help each other, she said. That is what a community does. Now go sign in. The first table on the right has strong roles in operations. He let out a short, quiet breath that felt like setting down a small weight. He walked toward the doors, the sound of voices ahead like a kind tide. Behind him, the sedan pulled away to park. The city kept moving. The bank lobby returned to its regular day. And the turning point, those simple minutes when a person walked in, made one clear request, and held a phone to the right ear, settled into its place as a clean bridge between doubt and proof. Inside the hall, a volunteer handed him a badge with his name on it in bold print. He pinned it to his shirt, straightened it once, and smiled. He had made it. He had the check confirmed, the funds in his pocket, and a whole day to meet people who might become colleagues. The morning behind him did not feel heavy now. It felt like a lesson wrapped in calm. He stepped into the bright room, ready for the next step. The hall buzzed like a friendly market when Darius walked in with his folder. A volunteer at the door handed him a program and a map of the booths. He pinned on his badge, checked that his envelope sat safely in his inner pocket, and followed the flow of people toward the first row of tables. The coordinator spotted him and came over with quick steps and a relieved smile. You made it, she said, handing him a bottle of water. I'm glad. Her voice carried no heavy questions, only welcome. Darius thanked her and said he was ready to meet teams. She pointed to 3 booths she thought would fit him well: a logistics company that organized deliveries for hospitals, a city office that managed supplies for public works, and a mid-sized tech firm building tools for warehouse scheduling. Start with these, she said. Your skills match what they need. He adjusted his tie, felt the calm of a plan return, and stepped to the first booth. The recruiter wore a navy blazer and a simple smile. Tell me about yourself, she said. He did, in clear, short lines, where he had served, what roles he had taken, the kind of work he wanted now. He did not rush. He named real tasks: managing timelines, tracking items, solving small problems before they grew. He held eye contact, then let it rest, then held it again, steady as a metronome. You speak like someone who knows how to run a day, the recruiter said. We like that. She asked about software systems. He told her what he knew and what he was learning next week in the short course. She nodded, wrote a note on his resume, and circled an interview slot on her sheet. Can you come in Wednesday at 10? He smiled. Yes, he said. She handed him a card. He wrote a thank you on the corner of his own copy so he would remember to send a follow-up message that evening. At the second booth, the city office team quizzed him about coordinating with drivers and departments. He spoke about listening first, then placing the right call, then keeping notes others could use. He did not mention the morning at the bank unless asked. He was here for work, not a story. But when one manager asked how he handled delays under pressure, he answered with a small, useful picture: I focus on the next step everyone agrees on. One clear step opens the road. The manager underlined something and smiled like he had just heard a sentence he wanted to remember. At the third booth, the tech firm pulled up a demo. The screen showed a grid of shipments and a slider for setting priority. Darius leaned in with easy curiosity and asked two simple questions that showed he knew how tools had to serve people: how do you handle sudden changes, and what does the handoff look like at the end of the day? The team lead liked those questions. We should talk more, she said, and offered him a time later in the week to meet the operations director. Between booths, a volunteer guided him to a small table where he could place his folder and write notes. Darius jotted names, small details, and the kind of thanks that sounds sincere in a follow-up, liked how they explained handoffs, asked about calm under pressure, wants examples of routing. He wrote neatly, the way he placed documents on counters order made visible. When the keynote hour arrived, the coordinator touched his sleeve. Would you sit near the front? She asked. There's a seat saved for you. Darius felt a small surprise but followed her to the second row. The lights dimmed. The host welcomed everyone and spoke about service, teamwork, and new beginnings. Then she introduced General Elaine Harper. The room lifted into a respectful hush that felt warm, not heavy. General Harper began with a simple story about mornings and choices. She did not name the bank or the branch. She did not point to anyone. She told a gentle, universal story about a person with documents, a desk with a phone number printed in clear ink, and the good things that happen when people take the simplest step first. We show care, she said, when we check facts with patience. We show strength when we treat each other as partners in a process that belongs to all of us. Her voice never rose, yet every word carried. Near the end, she added one more line: today I met someone who stayed calm, stayed kind, and kept faith with the process until it worked. That composure is a skill any team would value. She looked toward the second row and gave a small nod, not a spotlight, just a mark of thanks. The room applauded gently, the way people do when respect moves them. Darius felt the sound rise and fall like a tide. He didn't stand. He didn't need to. He let the moment be what it was, a note of grace in a day that had asked for it. After the talk, the aide found him and handed him a short card with 2 lines written in a neat hand: you did well. Keep going. It was signed with initials. Darius placed the card in his folder as if it were a tiny map to a steadier future. While he moved through the event, the bank moved through its own next steps. Back at the branch, Linda sent a concise message to her team and then gathered them by the break room whiteboard. She spoke plainly. We followed steps, she said, but we can tighten the path. First call the issuer. If that fails, call again from the back line. Ask the person at the counter for any support numbers they have. Do all that before you escalate. She wrote those points on the board and drew a small box around the word first. She added the backline number the officer had shared and taped it beside the phones. The teller who had helped Darius raised her hand. We can make a small laminated card and keep it near every station, she suggested. Good, Linda said. Let's do it. She also called the regional director, gave a clean summary, and recommended a short refresher for managers on comm checks and clear language. The director agreed, thanked her for the honest report, and asked her to prepare a brief note of apology to the customer for the delay. Linda wrote the letter with care that afternoon. She did not dress it up. She did not defend her choices. She wrote, I am sorry for the time it took to do a simple verification. We should have reached the issuer sooner. We have updated our steps so this will be faster next time. Thank you for your patience. She offered to waive fees associated with the transaction and included her direct line in case Darius needed anything else. She printed it on plain paper, signed it by hand, and asked the courier to deliver it that evening. The police officers returned to their station and entered the call into their system. Their supervisor read the report and added a friendly, practical note to the shift briefing: when you respond to finance questions at a business and the person is calm and offers documents, ask the business to make a quick verification call while you're there. Make that call first, if possible. It often brings a fast end with a good outcome for everyone. He posted the backline number on the board and wrote "ask for the simple step" in green marker. It was not a new law, it was just a useful habit shared aloud so it could become standard. Near late afternoon, after 2 good conversations and one on-the-spot skills exercise at the tech booth, Darius stepped outside to the quiet edge of the hall and called his sister. He told her he had been delayed but made it, and that he had 2 interviews set for the week. His niece grabbed the phone. "Did you get a cool badge?" she asked. He laughed. "I did," he said. "I'll bring it by." She promised to draw him a rocket with 4 stars because why not, and he promised to put it on the fridge. On his way home, he stopped at the small shop on Maple and bought the tie clip he had planned to buy in the morning, a simple silver line with a tiny pattern, nothing showy, just neat. He also picked up a small sticker with a planet on it for his niece. The shopkeeper, who liked to chat, asked about his day. "Good," Darius said. "A little longer than I planned, but good." The shopkeeper nodded. "Some days teach you how to walk," he said, handing over the small bag. Evening settled in with soft light across his kitchen table. Darius placed the bag next to his folder and counted the bills he had taken out for the week, then put the rest in a small safe box with a sticky note: "Training course, Wednesday." He cooked a simple dinner, the kind that tastes like order after a long day. When the courier knocked, he opened the door to the envelope from the bank. He read Linda's letter twice. It was a good letter, plain, humble, and clear. He felt any leftover tension in his shoulders loosen a little more. He sat down and wrote a short reply. "Thank you for your note," he wrote. "I appreciate the confirmation today and your plan to improve the process. A simple call made a big difference. I wish you and your team a good week." He addressed it to her name and sent a photo of it by email as well, in case the mail took time. He did not add anything sharper. He let the day end with respect. Before he slept, he moved one more piece into place. He looked up the veteran credit union he had used in another city and saw there was a branch a bus ride away. He liked their simple fee structure and the way they walked new members through tools in person. He scheduled a visit for the next morning to open an account and set up a small automatic transfer to savings each Friday. He named the line in his budget Steady Fund, a softer update to the lock fund idea that had started as a tip jar at the tailor's shop. The new name felt right, not locked away, but steady, like a brick that holds up a step. Morning brought small updates. The coordinator from the event sent a thank you message to all attendees and attached a list of companies still taking interviews. The tech firm sent him a calendar invite for Friday and a short note: "Please bring an example of a plan you built. Excited to meet." The hospital logistics company asked for references and gave him a form to fill out about availability. He filled it out at his kitchen table with tea by his elbow, careful to keep his handwriting neat. He prepared a 1-page plan from a volunteer project he had done, showing tasks, dates, and who checked what. He liked how the lines on the page looked like small rails guiding a train. At the bank, Linda made time for one more thing. She stood at the teller window where the poster about trust hung and looked at it quietly. Then she called the poster vendor and asked for a small update to the design. "Keep the word," she said, "but add a small line below: check facts first. People matter most." The vendor said it would be easy. She also set a date for a short community session next month to help people learn about safe transactions. The teller suggested inviting someone from the VA to speak about common forms and contacts. "Yes," Linda said. "Let's do that." The officers on the morning shift ran through their briefing and nodded at the green words on the board. One of them said, "This will save time but also save face." Another added, "And it makes the room kinder." They left the station with coffee and the quiet pride that comes from fixing a small thing in the way a day works. By late week, Darius sat in a neat conference room across from the operations director at the tech firm. He slid his one-page plan across the table and talked through it in simple words: goal at the top, steps underneath, who checks, what gets measured, where to adjust. The director listened, then asked a question about a time a plan met a delay. Darius told a small story about a delivery that hit a roadblock and how he found one clear step to unlock it. He did not say bank. He did not need to. The director smiled. "You think in steps," she said. "That's a good way to work." He left the interview feeling light and grounded at the same time. On his way out, he passed a bulletin board with a handwritten quote taped to it: "Simple is not easy. Simple is careful." He liked it. It sounded like the week. On Sunday, he visited his sister's house with the planet sticker and his badge. His niece stuck the planet on her notebook and pressed the badge to her shirt like a medal. "You look official," he said, and she laughed. They ate rice and vegetables at the table, and the talk turned to tiny things: the new bus route, the school play, a recipe his aunt had sent. When his sister asked gently about the bank, he said, "They wrote. They fixed steps. It's better now." Then he added, "I learned something too: ask for the simple step, and keep your voice calm until it comes." She nodded. "That sounds like you," she said. Monday morning came with a new rhythm. Darius walked to the credit union branch and opened his account. The staff welcomed him with kind attention, walked him through the app, and showed him how to set alerts that helped without buzzing all the time. He left with a small folder, a clean debit card, and a plan for his steady fund. He felt ready for the week interviews, the short course, follow UPS. He also printed one more copy of his resume and stopped by the bank branch on his way back, not for business, but for a moment of closure. He stepped in during a quiet hour. The guard recognized him and smiled. The teller who had helped him nodded. Linda came to the counter with a genuine, easy look. No speeches. No big scene. Just 3 people sharing a morning hello and a thank you that fit the room. "We updated our steps," she said softly. "I'm glad," he replied. They both meant it. As he walked out, he thought about how a single day can bend 2 ways and then straighten. He thought about how systems are made of people, and people are made of choices, and choices are made of small steps like dialing a number or saying, "Let's try this first." He did not feel grand. He felt steady. He had interviews to prepare for, a course to start, and a niece to cheer at a school play. The week moved on, one clear step at a time. The city kept its hum. And the quiet lesson of it all settled into words he would carry forward, ready to share when a friend or a co-worker needed them: check first, then decide. Keep voices kind. Build bridges across a counter. Trust grows when everyone adds to it.